here's Bon Jovi, this is what they sound like. You probably haven't heard them before, although they've made 2 albums previously, but this is them, and oh look, Bon Jovi's gorgeous as well. Well, if you like poodle haircuts, he's gorgeous. You've got to allow for that. Them was the times.
My next guests have sold over 30 million albums worldwide, and it's only Wednesday, December 6th. They kick off the Bon Jovi Christmas Charity Show at the Saint Denis Theatre in Montreal, performing their top 5 hit, Always, from the car CD, Bon Jovi!
This Romeo's bleeding, but you can't see his blood. It's nothing but some feelings that this old dog kicked up. It's been raining since you left me, and now I'm drowning in the flood. See, I've always been a fighter, but without you, I'd give up. And I can't sing a love song like the way it's meant to be. Well, I guess I'm not that good anymore, but baby, that's just me. And I will love you, baby.
You guys have been together how long?
About 3 weeks now. No, a little over a year. Just a year.
And now you had experimented with other guys on the road, and some of them didn't work out. What were some of the problems you had?
Well, the band all gets along together. It's like one big family. That's why Bon Jovi is my last name. And like my mom says, she's got 4 other sons, you know?
Mm-hmm. So in case you don't work out, she's got something to fall back on.
Different lives, some that made us laugh, some that made us cry, one that made you have to say goodbye. Would I give all my fingers through your hair?
Please introduce me to your friend.
This is Richie Sambora. Our
Richie, nice to have you with us.
Tico the Hitman Torres, our drummer.
We have met before. We'll cover that later.
This is Alec John Such.
Thank you, sir, very much for joining.
David Rashburn.
David, nice to have you here. Let me jump in the middle. You guys gather on like a football huddle. How did you meet Richie to begin with?
Richie was in the audience one night at a show while the other 4 of us were playing, and he came up to me and says, I want to be your lead guitar player.
What are you, crazy?
No.
This is not how to ingratiate yourself that people say, I'm going to be the lead guitarist.
Dick, it worked.
Right. Now, you split from Frankie and the Knockouts. How did this happen?
Bowling team.
This is all made up. None of this is true.
No, Tico was with the Knockouts, and they were between records and, back in Jersey.
You met him in a bowling alley?
No.
We've known each other for a lot of years, and finally got together to play a little bit and jam, and I said, I like this, and we just kept going.
'7800 Fahrenheit is probably one of the worst albums released by a rock band in the '80s. It nearly finished Bon Jovi's career. There were maybe a couple of tracks that were half good, and those were the ones that were released as singles, In and Out of Love, and the other one that was so bland I can't remember.
It seems to be absolutely the most out of whack album of their early days. Their debut, Bon Jovi, was better than this. This is the one where they just seem out on a limb, and you can't say really, well, I can't say that there's any great attraction there. There's a lack of oomph in it. The producer and the band don't seem on terms. I don't mean they were arguing or anything. I've no idea about that. Just that they couldn't pull the best out of one another. And the songs were only mediocre. They were only trundling along in the wake of the first. And essentially, you think, well, it didn't work really because it wasn't much good, and that's the height of it.
The ingredients were there. You know, the ingredients that make Bon Jovi popular are the fact that they've got this very good-looking guy fronting the band. He sings really well, he looks great. If you see them on stage, it really is a completely different experience. They just didn't have the songs on 7800 Fahrenheit. They had everything bar the songs. Is Tokyo Road the best track on the album? It's such a dreadful album. I think it's fairly, you know, if it is the best track, then it doesn't really say anything about it anyway. I don't think it is the best track. I just think that they can take these songs and they could sell Do Re Mi live because they really are a fantastic live band.
I think I've done over 1,000 shows with John, and I don't think I ever see a bad one, ever.
We have Reggie Cray, or you might want to call him Danny Francis, or you may want to call him Robert Bach.
Danny Francis is the chief of security, and he's gotten to a point where he's lied to us so much over the last 16 months. I haven't got a clue what his name is. He makes me pay him in cash, so I don't, I don't have a clue about this guy.
Yeah, he's got a few names, a few aliases.
Is this the stupidest thing you've ever seen?
It was party from the minute they went on stage to when they come off. You know, and John would have stayed on 3 hours every night if he could.
Live, I think that is clearly where Bon Jovi did a lot of their best work, and it's clearly about the sheer oomph of John himself. Being a dish does no harm at all. Then he's got the rapport with the lead guitarist, which is one of those classic rock things, and so they come together and they're old friends and they have this great rapport between them. And Richie loves playing to the crowd, and he loves he's a very emotional guitar player, again not widely acknowledged, but he is a very emotional guitar player, and so he'll respond to the crowd as well. And then behind them you've got the team kind of thing, the back line, the defence, you might almost say, in the team, doing it solid as a rock thing, no questions asked. 7800 Fahrenheit was such a dismal failure for them. It got terrible reviews, it didn't sell at all well, everybody knew it was a dog's dinner. The upside was that it put them into such a bad position, they nearly lost their record deal over it. So suddenly they had to think clearly, they had to be really sure about what they were doing next. They had to make absolutely sure they got it right. And if there was a positive side to the second album, it was that they made damn sure the third album was everything the second album wasn't.
Slippery When Wet was their third album, and the other two had just touched the charts but really didn't recoup any money, and they was getting dropped by the record company. If Slippery hadn't have hit, they was going to get dropped. They knew that, so they got Desmond Child in, and it really made a difference to the crossover, and they was radio friendly.
This was the first album where he, as an old pro hit-making songwriter, was brought in to help Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora improve their songs. Improve a few of their songs was all it was, and perhaps he encouraged them to think it through a bit more and tell the story a bit more and get a bit more character in there. You give love a bad name. I don't know how it affects girls, but boys, you just got to shout along with that. and you know, we've all got a woman to bitch about, and you put yourself in John Bon Jovi's place, and the woman was bad and you were good, and they were wrong and you were right, and you're right there shouting it out, and it's just a really powerful piece of fairly dumb but straight ahead rock that does the job.
It became very, I think, symbolic of everything that they came to represent. It was a rock song, so, you know, long-haired teenage boys could get off on it. It was incredibly catchy, so, you know, girls could relate to it in the same way they could any other pop song by Duran Duran or Wham. And it kind of showcased the band, you know, in lots of ways. The fact that they could play, the fact that they were a real band, but the fact that John and Richie, the guitarist, could really sing, the fact that they were great on stage. The video was a live video done as if they were playing on stage, and so it looks like one of those huge numbers live, and consequently it became one of those huge numbers live.
They're playing different pushes and pulls to make it more interesting. Sometimes it's straight, sometimes it's pushed, and that's actually what keeps a bunch of chords like that moving along. So that's the first thing. That's basically the same chord sequence that they use on the chorus, but just a very slightly different ending on it, and it goes like this. I think Living on a Prayer works really well on a number of levels. It's kind of like the ultimate rock song, you know, the ultimate stadium song, in so much as it's this incredibly anthemic number, huge choruses, everybody can sing along, the whole whoa whoa bit, you know, it's gold dust. There's that whole kind of longing to it which everybody can relate to, particularly teenagers, people starting out at the beginning of their journey, and it was a just incredibly catchy song.
Your guitar, obviously, you plug from your guitar and goes into the amp and it amplifies your sound. With a talk box, you go into this box on the floor here. Inside that, there's a tiny little speaker that the sound is then transferred up through this pipe, all the way up to the top here. And that part you put into your mouth, and then you create the sound like a wah effect with your mouth. That sound then travels back down these microphones at the side here, back into the box, and through into your amp. So you get sort of a cross between a guitar riff and somebody talking. So with the riff, using a talk box, it sounds like this.
Well, two things. First of all, the record company didn't want it on there. They fought tooth and nail to get it off, but John stuck to his guns. Second, it's been around for 50 years, but all of Bon Jovi fans thought they'd invented it, and it made it even bigger. And as soon as you hear that, you think of that song. You don't think of all the other songs it was on. So yeah, it definitely brought that up and kept the life shelf for that song going a long time.
She says we gotta hold on to what we got. It doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got each other, and that's a lot for love. We're giving it a shot. Oh, halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer. Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear.
One of the things about it that gave it some substance, which they didn't have previously and didn't often have thereafter, it has to be said, was the fact that it told a story and that they actually created a couple of characters, this Tommy and Gina, the Hard Times young couple. Whereas normally they worked with, in the lyrics, with archetypes. Here you had a couple of people. That sharpened up what they were writing a bit. That made the situation more dramatic rather than just a generalization. So I think the lyrics had a certain something to them. Then you lift off into this great roaring chorus, which everybody wants to punch the air to. And also it has a great way of carrying you through. It's got that nice key change towards the end, so that instead of the thing sort of trundling away into the distance, it actually lifts up into its conclusion.
Common trick that songwriters do, they change the key of the song, so basically all changing the key does, it just, everything in pitch, the pitch just comes up a bit basically. So for instance, whereas the chorus originally was in the key of E, it now goes up to the key of G, so you get this kind of effect. And that finishes the song, rounds it off, fades out, and that's the end.
As a piece of stadium rock, it's just an excellent piece of craftsmanship and delivery too. Delivery with great spirit, of course. The band clearly have their share of the credit as well, much as they got help from experts in the producer and the co-writer. The band is right there doing their stuff, and I guess probably inspired by feeling that they've got hold of a song that could do the job for them, and that they'd also were working with people who might just be able to help them get the breakthrough that they needed.
like a live show, got to be Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive always just brought it right back up again. I got 4 or 5 favourites, but Dead or Alive, you know, you have to play that.
It seems we're still away. I love the place where the faces are so cold. You travel nights to get back home. 'Cause I'm a cowboy on a steel horse. I'm wanted, dead or alive.
The most interesting thing about Wanted Dead or Alive, apart from again being a very catchy song, was that it was the one big number on the album that John and Richie didn't actually have any help writing. John and Richie wrote that song on their own. It still is one of the mainstays of their show today. It's a very mysterious sounding kind of cinematic song. It's the cowboy wagon train, rock star, Wild West, let's go crazy thing, all put into one song, but one song that actually sounds quite reflective.
Wanted Dead or Alive, of course, strongly relates lyrically to Bon Jovi's enthusiasm for the Wild West, cowboys and Indians and all that kind of thing. And throughout his catalogue you see that sort of reference. He's just falling into his own cliches, and he's certainly doing that in Wanted Dead or Alive. Although actually, of course, it is a slightly different sound for Bon Jovi, so in that sense, on the album, it's a bit of a relief, and Richie Sambora's able to play a slightly different kind of guitar and so on, which he's well able to. He's a tremendously versatile and very able and creative guitarist, I think. But so he does get a bit of a chance to do something different there. However, it's still it doesn't quite wash, I don't think. Although this album was their breakthrough, it does still contain quite a lot of routine stuff, which is only lifted above the ruck of mundane poodle rock of the time, if at all, because the sound is so good and the band knew what they were doing by then, and therefore they pitch in full on. There's no holding back for them. But when you get to a track like I'd Die For You, I would really say that is Bon Jovi by numbers. It is the ritual being gone through. The title's a cliche, you know, the thinking's a cliche. You don't believe it because it's too extreme. It's both a cliche and it doesn't work, you know, because it's over the top. So you've got to say, well, okay, and that was another track. Yes, it is filler.
I don't actually think there are any fillers on this particular Bon Jovi album. I think on their earlier albums, arguably, it was mainly fillers and a couple of good tracks. On this particular occasion, every single track on that album worked. I mean, that could have been, at the time, the template for what would have made the ultimate 80s rock album. Every single song is strong. I'd Die For You kind of gets overlooked a little bit because it was the last single to be released from the album. So I think there was a feeling that perhaps it was almost an afterthought. It was released in time for their Donington Festival appearance almost a year after the album had been released. But it's a great ballad. Very, very catchy. If it had been the first single from the album, it would have been a far bigger hit.
Was Springsteen a big thing to all the guys who were playing on the shore down here? Like, wow, he's really made it big. We can maybe follow in his footsteps, or was he gone at that point?
He was already, well, granted that I'm 28 years old, he was already on the, what was it, like 79? That was after that Darkness album.
Yeah.
So he was already playing arenas, you know? And the Jukes were like next in line, and they were just at that point when Hearts of Stone happened, so they were happening, you know? And there was still the quote-unquote Jersey scene, you know, there was something here. I don't know how he was looked upon, to tell you the honest-to-God truth. I mean, he'd come to the bar and drink beer like anyone else, but
yeah.
I don't think they made such a big deal because he was just one of the local guys.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a fair...
That's very New Jersey, too. He's able to just go to the bar.
You know, there's no doubt. I can go anywhere here and play or not play. It doesn't really matter.
Bon Jovi, to his credit, is always acknowledging how much he's influenced by Springsteen, how much he loves Springsteen's work, and so he always has that aspiration.
You know, I don't think you can have come from New Jersey in the 70s as a teenager and wanted to be a rock star without having a huge reference being Bruce Springsteen, as he's right in your face, he's on the doorstep, and regarded as a very serious artist in the 70s.
John idolised him, and although it was a younger audience, he wanted to hit at the heart and, you know, give the kids some hope.
Wild in the Streets, you can just hear that as a Springsteen song title. You have to check back through the catalogue, really. So, didn't Springsteen write that, actually, you know? But, of course, it is a bad imitation. Unfortunately, it's not convincing. He doesn't have Springsteen's ability to create characters, to see situations in an original fashion. He doesn't have the great creative imagination that Springsteen has. And so, actually, you get John Bon Jovi in these songs enthusing, belting it out, but there's not much else happening truly, and you can't really believe it. And finally, you just find them plodding along with immense energy, but no real substance there.
Wild in the Streets is one of those songs that if you're not a Bon Jovi fan, it's an easy target to say, well, that's, you know, very cliche. But arguably all their songs embody a certain amount of rock cliche. I think you take it out of its context and look at it 20 years later, it's maybe a bit creaky on its old legs. But at the time, none of those 9 million people that bought that album had any problem with it whatsoever. I think that, you know, if you saw them on the Slippery When Wet tour in '86 and '87, You know, all the front rows were desperate to touch John and Richie. This happens at rock concerts and pop concerts all the time. But it's not usual at a rock concert that the first 4 or 5 rows are entirely made up of teenage girls wanting to touch the singer or lead guitarist. And I think there was a sense that, you know, I remember walking through a crowd with John on that tour backstage somewhere, and people just wanted to touch his hair, touch his clothes, his feet, his aura, anything. I mean, it was everywhere he went, there were people, you know, and I think it's fairly easy to see where he got the imaginative idea to do a song called Lay Your Hands on Me.
I think the best anthem has got to be Lay Your Hands on Me. That's just an invite to all the young girls in the crowd that, you know, come back after the show. That's mentality-wise.
The track starts in one key, and then as soon as the track proper comes in and the vocals come in, it goes into a different key altogether. And it's got a monster guitar riff in it, which goes rather like this. Which, as you can see, is quite a complicated riff. It's a very fast pattern, and it changes rhythmically very slightly from one pattern to the next pattern, which is very clever and actually gives a lot of drama to the track. And in fact, once again, you can see some of Bon Jovi's influences here, because to me it sounds more like Rainbow or even Van Halen in places, you know. It's a big, fat rock lick, and it works very, very well.
New Jersey was a very good follow-up in terms of commercial thinking, but I'm sure it was natural to them as well. It was exactly represented where they were at that time, and the band all fired up, ready to go, and they delivered. It was a very similar album. They matched the hits okay, and did the job. You know, if you liked Slippery When Wet, you would like New Jersey.
There's a lot of people who will tell you that New Jersey is actually a much better album than Slippery, and I'd probably agree with them. They had the same outside writers working with them again, they had the same production team. It was very much go in there and let's make the sequel. But I think they did a better job. I mean, everything about the record sounds more polished. They inevitably sound much more confident, and it kind of ushered in this whole era where they really were Bon Jovi the brand as opposed to the band.
We have a new album out, it's called New Tokyo. No. It's called New Jersey, right? Just close your eyes, baby, and pretend that you're all the way back home. Cause you're born to be my baby.
Born to Be My Baby is another of the tracks that was worked on by Desmond Child, so it had that hallmark on it, you know, but unfortunately I don't think it was gold. It might have been heading in the direction of being a corking good time song, but ultimately it is another of those that they failed to crank the old aeroplane up into the stratosphere, I'm afraid. However, put it in their hands live with a big crowd and all that excitement, and they may be able to make it work because they've got so much main force, they've got so much oomph, they've got so much will to make these things work. You know, you can always feel it in them. So quite possibly stick that in a stadium and maybe it'll be transformed. But that's, if they can transform it, that's alchemy, because I think it's base metal really rather than gold.
I can still remember when I was just a kid. We were friends forever. What you said is what you did. It was me and Danny and Bobby. We put each other's hand. We held tight to a promise. Only brothers understand.
I think Blood on Blood and Born to Be My Baby are kind of John living out his Bruce Springsteen fixation to the max. I think that for me the problem with Blood on Blood and Born to Be My Baby is that they really have been done a lot better by people like Springsteen, by people like Thin Lizzy. Rod Stewart and the Faces did that kind of thing. I know what he's saying, but it doesn't quite work for me.
Through all his career, unfortunately, he did discover that he couldn't become a very good Springsteen. When he's trying to be Bruce, I don't think he writes outstanding songs. I can't think of an outstanding Wish I Was Bruce song in the Bon Jovi catalogue. You know, I don't think it does him good to be trying to emulate his idol. It's not something that works for him, I think, and that's the case with Blood on Blood.
Somebody get a doctor. I need a shot of bad medicine, baby.
I don't think Bad Medicine is inextricably linked to the moment personally, any more than You Give Love a Bad Name. It's almost a rewrite, you know, Your Love Is Like Bad Medicine. And before that it was You Give Love a Bad Name. They're very, very similar songs, they're quite formulaic, but I wouldn't say that it makes them particularly stick out as cliched examples of what the group do.
People accuse them of writing cliched lyrics all the time, and I think mostly they do. However, I'd say that this is a one that, okay, it might fundamentally be a cliche. Bad Medicine's a rock and roll cliche, a Western movie cliche, of course it is. On the other hand, it is followed through as a metaphor. And why not? In the middle of a big stonking rocker, why not have a metaphor which is actually sustained? It's well made, in other words. It actually is well made.
Ride, cowboy, ride. The back door of heaven to the other side. I wanna know the feeling you ever kissed me at midnight. Ride, cowboy, ride. Well, I learned my lesson, real story and tell. So I make my confession in the Sleazy Motel.
Ride, Cowboy, Ride is another Wanted Dead or Alive. 2 years later, he'll be doing a song called Blaze of Glory for the Young Guns 2 soundtrack. The cowboy, that's always been a metaphor in John's mind for the whole rock band on the road experience.
It's not particularly good of itself, and I don't know why it's there. If you like, it's a draw breath moment in the course of the album, and okay, so people put little tracks like that on albums sometimes just for that, just to break it up. Here's something we think's interesting. And if you don't think it's interesting, well, it's not going to last long. Perhaps that's what it is, you know. However, it's an oddity to me. I don't quite see how it connects. I don't see what they were up to, what they were after. And again, if it is of any significance to the band, well, it's not something they've followed up.
You wanna come with me tonight?
I'll Be There For You was a huge hit from New Jersey. Big ballad. Always reminded me of Rod Stewart doing I'd Rather Go Blind. Almost identical in my mind.
You say you cried 1,000 rivers, but now you're swimming for the shore. You let me drown in my tears.
I don't know if it was a particularly significant moment in Bon Jovi's career. It was another hit single, but by then they'd already had, 5 or 6 hit singles. It wasn't like what Angels is to Robbie Williams.
I'll be there for you. These 5 words I swear to you. When you breathe, wanna be the air for you. I'll be there for you. I'd live and I'd die for you.
They're certainly trying to do something a bit different. It is that variation that anybody but a flat-out Bon Jovi stadium rock fan would need in the course of listening to an album. It is a bit slower, it's quieter, it's a bit more ruminative, and the melody actually has some nice little twists to it, which make you think, well, they do have more melodic gifts, a wider range of melodic gifts than they normally reveal. Another thing about that track, I think, is that it's another of those occasions where if you're willing to listen to Richie Sambora, he's showing what a clever accompanist he is, which is not a quality you associate with lead guitarists. You associate lead guitarists with showing off, and most people would see Richie Sambora that way. If you listen to this track, you do hear him as an accompanist to Bon Jovi. In other words, helping Bon Jovi, backing Bon Jovi in the full sense of the word, rather than just exercising his ego. So I think he deserves credit for that.
I didn't mean to miss your birthday, baby. I wish I'd seen you blow those candles out.
is all this solo stuff meant for the band? I mean, there've been reports in the English press that, you know, maybe there'll be another album, maybe not, and the band's pissed off because you've gone, you know, and done this solo thing. So anything to that, or?
There was never a fight within the band. The press created the whole thing. It started in the English newspapers. I got it by the wonder of facts. It's all Ovi for Bon Jovi was the headline. I will never forget it. Richie's disgruntled, Tico quit. Yeah. And I'm going, I haven't talked to the guys in about 6 weeks. I wonder if the band's over. You know, and I hadn't talked to anyone to find out for sure. So one thing led to another, and it started to get ugly. Yeah. You know, and it was because we were all reading the press. So we got together, you know, for Dave's wedding, and it was really great to see everyone. Yeah.
They admit now that they weren't getting on. In fact, they brought in guidance counsellors to sit with them and get them all to agree to even talk to each other again, let alone work together again. In the meantime, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all these people had come along, and grunge had happened. And, you know, one of the things that grunge did, apart from bring us some great music and some fantastic new bands, it effectively, like all fantastic new movements, killed off everything that had come right before it, which meant that suddenly groups like Motley Crue and Def Leppard and Bon Jovi suddenly seemed extremely passé, were extremely passé, looked wrong, sounded wrong, everything wrong. What Bon Jovi did was kind of reinvent themselves. They got rid of the makeup, got rid of the spangly clothes, cut all their hair. John lost the poodle haircut, which everybody had known him for many years. And they did do some really good songs. They still kept some of the same outside writers. They still kept churning out the hits. But it was a kind of a confused period for them where they were neither fish nor fowl. They weren't what they'd been in the 80s, and they certainly weren't Nirvana. But they were trying to somehow bridge the gap.
That's all I need. Got no use for Sundays, Lord, I don't rest in peace. I don't need no Mondays or the rest of the week. I spend a lot of time in bed. I don't like to sleep much. I wanna lie to you. You never gonna cry to you. I probably drive you wild 8 days a week. Yeah. Until I'm 6 feet under, baby.
Keep the Faith, the sound just isn't so monolithic as it was on the previous 2 albums. There is a range of stuff. And I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, which is another Desmond Child co-write, actually is Bon Jovi moving into funk metal to a degree. And as far as I'm concerned, it did work. You know, they did deliver that style pretty well with a strong song.
I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, for me, is a really good rock song. I don't think it's them trying too hard to be too macho. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I thought it was just a good upbeat pop song.
I sleep when I'm dead.
And again, speaking as something of a Richie Sambora fan, I have to say that I think his influence in moving them around, the way he could play very well in it with any given inflection or change of style for Bon Jovi, really helped them. And I think it helped them on this album a lot. I think oftentimes when you find a track tasting a little different for Bon Jovi, if you really listen to it, you find that Richie Sambora is showing them the way.
Their most recent album is entitled Keep the Faith. Oh, I got a copy of it right here, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Bon Jovi's Richie Sambora and John Bon Jovi.
With this old piano, trying hard capture the moment. This morning I don't know.
This song is in 12/8 and 6/8, which a lot of blues songs are in. But this song isn't really a blues, it's more a sort of mid-tempo ballad. So the very first chord of the tune is B flat major, and in 12/8 it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 12, counting 12 beats basically. And then we'll play the same chord as a bar of 6/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's one bar, and then you change to the next chord. It's a fairly straightforward chord sequence, except the fact the bars of 12/8 are split in half to bars of 6/8, just to accommodate the vocals in some places and to accommodate the feel of the song, so a chord doesn't sit there with nothing happening for too long, basically. So the component parts of this song, it's really, there's 4, 5 basic chords in it, and the only reason they've introduced different chords into it is harmonically to make it a little bit more interesting. What they're doing to make it a bit more interesting, for instance, they play a C chord, a C major chord, but then they play an E root below it, so it basically gives the feeling of it moving. So you have C, then the E root, and then they have a B flat major chord with an F below it, so it creates a bit more harmony to it, just to make it a little bit more interesting.
'Cause a bottle of vodka still lodged in my head on some blonde gave me nightmares. I think that she's still in my bed.
Bed of Roses is interesting to me because whenever I do hear it, I think, oh, it's Neil Diamond. Whoops, no, it's not. It's John Bon Jovi. So here we do have Bon Jovi actually moving around in terms of vocal style. Again, a real plus, I think, because you know, this is interesting. Here he is actually using his voice and addressing the music in a different way and letting out his definite emotional oomph via different means, a more reflective, a quieter style.
Baby, you're all that I need.
Bed of Roses for me is a fairly unremarkable song. If you want to talk about what the best Bon Jovi ballad of all time is, it's Always. You know, whether you like that song or not, it's a bit like Whitney Houston doing, you know, I Will Always Love You. It's a bit like Bryan Adams doing his Robin Hood song. You know, it's just one of those songs that, love it or hate it, there's not much you can do about it. It just conquers all. And it's just a huge, huge song. It was #1 forever, all over the world, and made the greatest hits album it came from in '95. I think it made it like the biggest seller in the UK that year.
Baby, that's just me. And I will love you, baby. Always, and I'll be there forever and a day.
Well, Always, I think, is another of these ballads that they were starting to get quite good at in the early 90s. Don't know that they're not great balladeers. They never quite make it to being great balladeers, although you always think they've got the potential. Nonetheless, I think Always works pretty well in terms of their particular take and ability on a slower, romantic sort of song.
Once again, Bon Jovi!
My name is Jim, where did I go wrong? My life's a bargain basement, all the good is gone. I just can't hold a job, where do I belong? I was sleeping in my car, my dreams moved on. My name is Billy G, my love is bought and sold. I'm only 16, I feel 100 years old. My folks are dead and went, took my answers away. The street life ain't much better, but at least I'm getting paid. And Tuesday just might go my way. Can't get worse than yesterday. Thursdays, Fridays, I ain't been kind. Somehow I survive. And hey, man, I'm alive. I'm taking each day and night at a time. Yeah, I'm down, but I know I'll get by. Hey, 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 man, I gotta live my life like I ain't got nothing but those roll of the dice. I'm feeling like a Monday, but someday I'll be Saturday night.
Someday I'll be Saturday night. I actually think that's John Bon Jovi making a fair attempt at being a decent songwriter. It's not a self-conscious ballad, it's not a self-conscious rocker. It's catchy, but it's also meant to be a bit reflective, a bit mature, a sign of the more mature John Bon Jovi of the 90s. It's one of those songs for, it's an everyman song, you know. It's one of those, because John likes to see himself relating to the everyman, the regular guy.
Someday I'll be Saturday night, I think probably is, again, one of those songs that they can't quite get moving. Again, they have the personalisation thing is working in their lyric writing, and you think that's probably feeding into making the music stronger. But again, I just think as a piece of music, it doesn't take off.
Someday I'll be Saturday night sounds a bit sort of pop to me, and Good Guys Don't Always Wear White is just a sort of blues workout, really, disguised as something a bit more interesting than a straight blues. It's sort of, you know, they're not singing blues lyrics, but the riffs are all blues. It's basically a blues song.
I don't think you can say they were running out of ideas at that point, because clearly they've done a lot of records since. You know, they're still doing stadiums, they're still selling zillions of albums, they're still having huge hits. So I don't think you can really say they were running out of ideas, no.
They never let the fans down. They were always there, always doing their best on a night, always delivering. And, you know, equally the records in that period, they were, you absolutely knew what you were getting. And if Bon Jovi gave you a lift, they gave you a big lift. If you could relate to what they were doing, well, they were there. They were going to give it to you full on, 100%.
You know, you get your money's worth when you go and see a Bon Jovi show.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And that's why they're still around today.
You guys don't always know why.